Are you satisfied with a faith that whispers comfort in your ear, yet leaves your soul untouched? Or do you long for a faith that sears, breaks, and rebuilds you brick by brick, heart by heart? Many claim to follow Christ, yet they chase a religion of ease, a faith that costs nothing, changes nothing, and leaves the spirit dead within them. But true faith is not gentle. It is a consuming fire. It does not ask politely. It demands. It does not soothe, it confronts. It tears down the idols of convenience and exposes the hollowness of worldly attachments. Ask yourself, how long have you lived with a faith that fears suffering, a faith that fears the cross, a faith that fears transformation? How many times have you prayed for blessings, yet shied away from the cost God requires? Do you know that every great saint, every soul that changed the world, paid a price most of us would run from? They knew, as you must know, that to follow Christ is to embrace a faith that pierces, purifies, and reshapes everything in its path. Can you endure the trials? Can you bear the loss, the persecution, the loneliness that true devotion demands? Or will you remain in the shallow waters, floating on comfort while your spirit withers? True faith will burn you until you either surrender fully or retreat in fear. It is the furnace that reveals the dross, the refining fire that produces gold from the mud of your soul. Consider this. How many years have passed with your faith untouched by fire? How many prayers have gone unanswered because your heart was unwilling to be broken, to be stripped of self, to be emptied for God's fullness? The question is not whether you will experience discomfort, but whether you will allow it to transform you. Will you pay the price, or will you settle for the illusion of devotion? Today I stand before you with a challenge. Open your eyes. Confront the depth of your own heart. Examine the shallow faith you have held on to for comfort's sake. The choice is laid bare: a comfortable faith that leaves you unchanged, or a consuming faith that will burn, break, and rebuild your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. Which path will you choose? The shallow waters of convenience, or the raging river that transforms the soul forever? Let us begin where many falter. The soul that claims to follow Christ while clinging to comfort is a soul deceived. Romans 8 declares boldly that nothing can separate us from the love of God, yet it also whispers the uncomfortable truth. Love that transforms demands surrender. Do you hear it? Or has your heart grown deaf to the fire that refines? The world tells us faith is easy. It tells us we can follow Christ without losing anything. It whispers, take what you want, hold on to your pleasures, and still call yourself holy. But this is a lie. True faith strips away the illusions, exposes the heart, and demands a price most are unwilling to pay. Tozer once said, "It is not easy to live a holy life. It is a battle to maintain the flame in a world of damp wood." Pause and reflect. How often have you prayed for God's blessings while avoiding the cost He requires? How many times have you wanted power, favor, or protection, yet flinched at the thought of obedience? True faith does not come with guarantees of ease. It does not come with applause or accolades. It comes with surrender, suffering, and the burning away of the self that clings so desperately to comfort. Imagine a goldsmith at his furnace. The raw ore is impure, heavy with dross. Only through fire, only through heat that seems unbearable, does the gold emerge pure and radiant. Your faith, beloved, is the ore. The trials, the sacrifice, the loneliness, they are the fire. Without this refining, the heart remains impure, dull, and lifeless. And so I ask you, will you embrace the furnace, or will you run to the shade of convenience? Comment below if you are ready to face the fire. Share this message with someone who fears the cost of obedience. Let us together take the first step toward a faith that burns. Consider the saints of old: Abraham, who left everything familiar without knowing the destination; Paul, who rejoiced in chains; Stephen, who looked to heaven as stones fell upon him. None sought comfort, none shrank from the price, and yet their lives echo through eternity, proclaiming that the fire of true faith shapes destinies beyond comprehension. Now, bring this into your own life. Examine the areas where you cling to safety. Where do you refuse to surrender fully? Tozer warned, "Many are running after God, but few are allowing Him to run through them." Are you one of the many, or are you among the few who dare to be consumed by His Spirit? Do not mistake this message for condemnation. It is a call to awakening. Like a roaring lion, God's Spirit seeks the heart that will not settle. If you are still asleep in comfort, wake. If you are still holding tightly to ease, release. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that faith is not a hobby, not a pastime, not a gentle companion. It is a consuming fire. Every trial of obedience, every moment of surrender is shaping you into a vessel capable of holding more of God's glory than you ever imagined. The cost is high, yes, but the reward is incomparable. Subscribe now if you desire to walk in a faith that transforms not only your life but the lives of those around you. Pray with me. Lord, do not let me cling to comfort. Let me be refined by your fire, and let my life reflect your glory. And as we continue, consider this: the journey of faith is not linear, it is a battlefield. Each step toward surrender brings resistance. Each moment of obedience brings challenge. And yet, it is precisely in these moments that your faith becomes something alive, something radiant, something that burns with the glory of God. Like the Apostle Paul wrote, we must rejoice in our trials, for they produce endurance, character, and hope. Are you enduring? Are you allowing the trial to refine, not just test you? Comment below your struggle, and let this community of seekers lift you up. Like Tozer said, without discipline, holiness is impossible. Your discipline now, your choice to endure, will define the course of eternity for your soul. Do you see now that faith is not a comfort, it is a confrontation? It confronts your pride, your fear, your clinging to self. It confronts the world's lies. It confronts the empty promises you once believed. And through this confrontation, the soul either crumbles or rises refined like gold, radiant like the morning sun breaking through the darkness. Faith is not measured by your comfort, your success, or your popularity. It is measured by your willingness to obey, even when obedience costs everything. How many of us say we follow Christ, yet run from the cross? How many of us claim devotion, yet flee from suffering? Tozer warned, the man who never truly denies himself never truly follows Christ. Will you be a follower who denies nothing, or a pretender who denies the cross every chance he gets? Remember the lessons of Scripture. The rich young ruler left the presence of Jesus because the cost was too high. Peter walked on water until fear crept in. Paul endured beatings, imprisonment, and shipwrecks. The path of faith is paved with trials, yet it is the only path that leads to true transformation. Comment if you are ready to step on this path and share with those who fear the cost of obedience. Let this be your moment of awakening. The choice is before you. Will you continue in the shallow waters of comfort, or will you enter the fire, letting God burn away the illusions, the pride, the attachments that choke your soul? Like Tozer said, what comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. What do you see when you look at your own faith? Comfort, ease, and safety, or fire, sacrifice, and transformation? This is the call, a call to wake, to surrender, to endure, to be refined. Like and subscribe if you are ready to walk the path that few dare to tread. Pray with me now. Lord, refine me, burn away all that is false, and make my heart a vessel for your glory. And as we move to the next step, remember faith that burns is not an option. It is the only faith that truly transforms. We have begun to understand the cost of true faith, but now we confront the heart of the matter, the transforming love of God. Romans 8 declares, without hesitation, that nothing can separate us from this love, not trials, not suffering, not even the powers of darkness. And yet, many hear this promise and cling to a faith that fears the fire, a faith that refuses to be tested. How many claim to love God but shrink from the call to be refined? This love is not passive, it is active. It convicts, it confronts, it reshapes, it refines, and it transforms. Ask yourself, how often have you prayed for God's presence yet resisted the very changes He intended for you? How often have you longed for His blessing but recoiled from the cross He placed before you? Tozer once wrote, God is never satisfied with a life that does not cost something. And here lies the unchangeable truth. God's love will not tolerate mediocrity. It pushes, pierces, and even shatters our comfort until we are vessels capable of holding His glory. Consider the saints and prophets of old. Abraham was called to leave everything familiar, trusting a promise unseen. Moses turned away from the fleeting pleasures of Egypt to lead God's people through hardship. The martyrs faced death with joy because they had embraced a love that surpasses understanding. These examples are not relics of history. They are mirrors for your soul. Will you follow them or cling to the shadows of ease? Pause and reflect. In your own life, where has God's love confronted you? Where has He demanded obedience that cost you comfort, pride, or control? These are not curses. They are the furnaces of refinement. They are chisels shaping the heart. Like gold in fire, your faith is purified in trials, revealing the brilliance of a heart fully surrendered. Comment below with the moments you faced God's refining flame. Share this message with someone struggling to embrace obedience. Imagine the Apostle Paul, beaten, imprisoned, shipwrecked, yet exclaiming, I consider everything loss compared to the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. Do you grasp this, beloved? Comfort, status, even life itself were nothing compared to God's love and calling. Tozer warned, the price of being a Christian is simply everything. Will you surrender all or clutch the small comforts you call life? And so I ask again, what are you holding on to? What fears, illusions, or safe havens keep you from embracing God's transforming love? Comment your struggles and share this with those whose faith has grown lukewarm. Let us pray together, asking God for courage to surrender fully. Faith that burns is never comfortable. It grows in the furnace of trials, nourished by the refining love of God. every act of obedience, every sacrifice, every moment of surrender, these are the crucibles in which true faith is formed. Like and subscribe if you desire a faith unshakable, a faith that radiates God's glory. Look closely at the small moments, refusing gossip, giving sacrificially, forgiving the hard-hearted, praying when exhausted. These shape the vessel as much as acts of martyrdom. Pray with me now. Lord, grant me courage to embrace your love fully. Refine me, transform me, let my life shine with your brilliance. Share this prayer with others, for we walk together in the fire of faith. Do you see it, beloved? Trials, struggles, moments of fear, they are invitations. Invitations into the fullness of God's love, a love that burns away pride, selfishness, and mediocrity. Comment with your experiences of God's transforming love and encourage others to share theirs. Remember this: faith without surrender is dead. Faith clinging to comfort is hollow. Faith that refuses God's refining is incomplete. Romans 8 promises nothing can separate us from His love, but it demands that we engage, live, and endure its fire. This is how faith becomes alive, radiant, and transformative. Consider the refining imagery: a blacksmith hammering the iron. Each strike seems painful, yet it shapes a weapon strong and precise. Your trials are the hammer. God's love is the fire. The result is a soul capable of wielding His glory, a faith that cannot be shaken. Finally, awaken, surrender, endure, be refined. The choice is yours: shallow comfort or the fire that purges all that is false. Tozer said, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us." What comes into your mind when you examine your own faith? Comfort or fire, sacrifice and transformation? Engage with this message. Comment your struggles, share with others, subscribe, and pray. Let God's refining love transform you, for only in the furnace of obedience will your faith truly burn and shine. Beloved, now we come to the heart of true discipleship, the crucible of obedience and the radical transformation it brings. We have seen the cost of faith, and we have glimpsed the fiery, refining love of God. But true transformation demands more. It demands surrender in every corner of our lives, the death of self and a willingness to follow where He leads, even into suffering. How often do we speak of following Christ, yet live as if we are still in control? How many of us clutch our agendas, our comforts, our reputations, imagining we are walking in obedience? Tozer warned, God is not looking for admirers. He is looking for disciples. Do you admire Him, or do you follow Him with a surrendered heart? Consider the call to the cross, not as a symbol, but as a living, breathing demand. Each day presents moments where comfort and pride whisper their lies, tempting you to shrink from obedience. Will you honor your own will or yield to God's? Will you sacrifice time, comfort, and recognition for the invisible work of the Spirit within? Reflect and comment below. Where has God demanded your obedience that felt impossible? Take a moment and consider the transformation of the heart. The Apostle Paul describes it as the renewing of the mind, the mortifying of the flesh, the crucifixion of self. These are not abstract concepts. They are battles, painful, relentless, yet necessary. Romans 12:1 calls us to offer our bodies as living sacrifices, holy, pleasing to God. Have you done this today? Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Engage with this reality. Give your heart fully in action, in prayer, in thought, in every choice. Tozer wrote, "The man who would know God must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow." Denying self is not occasional. It is continual. Taking up the cross is not ceremonial. It is habitual, daily, relentless. Following Christ is not a weekend exercise. It is the path of radical transformation. Like and subscribe if your heart longs for such a faith, one that burns and reshapes your very soul. Consider the trials of Daniel, who refused to bow to the idols of kings, knowing death awaited him. Consider Esther, who risked her life for her people, saying, "If I perish, I perish." These are not stories of distant history. They are templates for our obedience today. Where is God calling you to stand, knowing that the cost is high, yet the reward is immeasurable? Comment your commitments, share this with someone needing courage, and pray together for bold obedience. Do not mistake ease for blessing. The Spirit transforms not in comfort, but in obedience, in suffering, in the crucible of daily surrender. Each act of faith, each word spoken in truth, each choice made in integrity, even unseen, builds a life that radiates God's glory. These are the true victories, invisible to the world, yet eternal in heaven. Reflect on your soul. What is holding you back from full surrender? Fear? Pride? The comfort of familiarity? These must be laid on the altar. God will not bless what He cannot fully possess. He will refine, He will test, He will demand everything, and He will love you through it. Comment below with your surrender and share your testimony. Consider the early disciples who left homes, families, and professions to follow Jesus. They faced ridicule, persecution, and even death, yet their faith endured. Why? Because they embraced the radical cost of obedience and allowed their lives to be completely molded by God. Will you follow such an example, or will you cling to convenience and safety? Think about the prodigal heart within us all. We want transformation, yet resist the process that leads to it. We desire holiness, yet avoid the trials that cultivate it. Tozer said, "God's work in a man begins where comfort ends." Are you ready to let comfort go? Will you step into the fire that purges, shapes, and illuminates? Like, comment, and share if your heart is ready to surrender fully. Examine your own small moments of obedience. Refusing to gossip, giving sacrificially, forgiving when wounded, praying when exhausted. These seemingly minor acts prepare you for greater trials. Each choice is a hammer strike in the workshop of God's refining fire. Pray with me now. Lord, shape me, refine me, consume all that is not you, and let me be wholly yours. Share this prayer with others, for we walk together in the crucible of faith. Beloved, the journey is not easy, nor is it optional. Radical transformation is the destiny of the believer who dares to follow Christ fully. Faith without action is dead. Obedience without surrender is hollow. But a life yielded, a soul crucified with Christ, is luminous, radiant, unstoppable. Comment below with your struggles and victories. Share this message. Subscribe to walk this path alongside others who dare to endure and be transformed. Imagine your heart as clay in the potter's hands. Each trial, each act of obedience, each crucifixion of self is a shaping tool. Will you resist and crack under pressure, or will you yield and be molded into a vessel fit for glory? The choice is yours. Finally, awaken, surrender, endure, and be refined. The choice is yours. shallow comfort, or the fire that purges all that is false? Tozer said, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Examine your faith comfort, or fire, sacrifice, and transformation. Engage with this truth now. Pray, reflect, comment, share, and subscribe. Let God's refining love transform you, for only in the furnace of obedience will your faith truly burn and shine." Beloved, now we stand before the brilliance of Christ, the light that came into the world, piercing darkness, revealing sin, exposing pride, and igniting hope. The gospel is not a gentle whisper. It is a blazing torch, demanding response, commanding surrender, and illuminating every hidden corner of the soul. Tozer wrote, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. What do you see when you gaze upon the light of Christ? Comfort, indifference, or the fire of transformation? The world resists this light. Darkness recoils. Pride shields itself." Tozer warned, "The greatest evil of the human heart is a tendency to be content with darkness while despising the light." How often have we found ourselves resisting illumination, clinging to shadows of convenience, excuses, or fear? Where has God's light confronted your darkness, and how did you respond? Comment below and share your reflections. Consider John 1-5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. This light is relentless. It does not compromise. It does not negotiate. It does not tolerate mediocrity. It reveals sin to sanctify, exposes pride to purify, and confronts lukewarm hearts to ignite passion. Engage with this reality. Have you allowed His light to penetrate fully, or have you dimmed it with half-hearted faith? Like and subscribe if your heart longs to shine in His radiance. Tozer wrote, "A lukewarm soul is a wasted soul." Beloved, do you feel the stirring in your heart, the call to rise above comfort, to reject compromise, to follow the light even when the world resists? Like, comment, and share if your heart is being stirred by this truth. The light brings judgment, yet offers salvation. Those who cling to darkness may feel the sting of exposure, but the light is not wrath without mercy. It calls, it convicts, it offers grace to the willing. Will you step into the light, embrace its truth, and allow it to transform every fiber of your being? Engage in prayer now. Lord, let your light shine in me, expose all that is false, and guide me into your truth. Share this prayer with others seeking illumination. Imagine the shepherds in Bethlehem, trembling at the glory of the angelic host, yet drawn to the manger by the light of Christ. Imagine the disciples, fearful yet obedient, following the light that called them from boats, from professions, from ordinary lives. The call remains: abandon the ordinary, embrace the extraordinary. Comment below, where is God calling you to step out of the shadows and into His light? The world's rejection will come. Jesus warned, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Rejection is inevitable when you embrace His light fully. Friends, this is the refining reality. The path of obedience often invites opposition, yet it leads to eternal victory. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you choose to follow the true light. Reflect on the ways the enemy seeks to dim this light in your life: doubt, fear, distraction, and temptation. Each is a test, a battle, a call to persevere. Tozer said, The man who would know God must be willing to lose everything that can be lost, so that he may gain all that can be gained. What must you surrender today to allow His light to shine unimpeded? Comment and share your struggles so we may pray together. Finally, understand this: salvation is radical. It is not passive, comfortable, or convenient. It demands a heart willing to be exposed, transformed, and surrendered. Tozer wrote, "God is looking for men who will dare to be holy. Will you dare? Will you step fully into the light, forsaking darkness, embracing truth, and allowing God to reshape your life?" Engage, reflect, pray, act, and share this truth. Beloved, the light is not just a promise. It is a call, a confrontation, a challenge. Will you remain in shadows, or will you emerge into brilliance? Comment below, like, subscribe, share, and pray with us. Let the light of Christ burn away all that is false, illuminate your soul, and testify to the glory of God in your life. This is not optional. This is the destiny of all who dare to follow fully, without compromise, without fear, and with hearts surrendered to the one who is the light. Beloved, we have journeyed through the cost of true faith, the refining love of God, the crucible of obedience, and the piercing brilliance of Christ's light. You have seen that comfort is the enemy of transformation, that surrender is the path to glory, and that the cross is not optional, it is the gateway to eternal life. The question remains, what will you do with this truth? Will you cling to comfort, pride, and familiarity, or will you embrace the fire, the cross, and the light that demands total surrender? Tozer reminds us, God is never satisfied with a life that does not cost something. Today I challenge you. Take a step of radical obedience. Pray, reflect, and allow God to purify your heart. Share this message with others who need courage. Comment below your commitments, engage with fellow believers, and subscribe to walk this path together. Do not delay. Do not compromise. The world will resist, trials will come, yet the reward is eternal. Faith that burns, faith that sacrifices, faith that surrenders fully, this is the faith that changes lives, transforms hearts, and shines in the darkness. Beloved, let your faith burn. Let your obedience rise. Let Christ's light consume all that is false. Engage now. Pray, share, comment, like, subscribe, and let your life testify to the glory of the one who is faithful, holy, and true.